Hello, and welcome to Birdeye Live, the show dedicated to the digital transformation of local businesses everywhere. Join me, Justin Meredith, your host and digital marketing evangelist here at Birdeye, as we learn from industry experts about the how and the why for taking your business online and claiming the most valuable real estate on the internet, the first page of Google. So tomorrow, I will be joined by two leading experts in the world of Google and SEO, and we'll be discussing how businesses can get the most out of their Google business profiles. We'll also be answering some of the most common questions that we've received regarding SEO and Google business profiles from all of our past webinars, and we'll be answering your questions live in the webinar. This is something you don't want to miss, especially if you want to attend live, because we are going to spend a majority of the webinar answering your questions. And these are going to be answers from leading experts in Google and SEO. So be sure to register now using the link that should be in the comments any moment. Now, today, I'm honored to have one of those experts join us on the show, Ben Fisher. Ben is the founder and VP of marketing. He's the founder and VP of marketing at Steady Demand. And he's also a diamond level Google product expert. And he'll be joining us tomorrow to talk about Google business profiles and answering some of your questions. So, Ben, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, Justin. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
That's good to hear. So it's pretty impressive that you are a diamond level Google product expert. It's actually something I've never even heard of. What exactly does that mean? And what is your relationship with Google? How does that work? How do you help them?
Sure. I got started with the Google Business Profile, formerly Google My Business, community back about 6 years ago. And I stumbled into it actually when I was helping a client who was suspended from Google Maps, and Google wanted to remove gun stores from Google Maps. And I didn't think this was right. Went to the community. Joey Hawkins, one of my mentors, helped me out with that issue. And we ended up saving Google gun stores, and they allowed them on Google Maps now. Yay. By the way, it was because guns kill people. That's why they wanted to remove them. But anyway, long story short on that is why I do it is because I love helping people. The other thing is that basically we get to be extremely close to Google. We talk to them every single day. We have a meeting with them every single Friday, actually, a Google Meet. We meet with all the product managers. We get to see a lot of features that come out, usually about 6 months to a year before they come out. We get to also become testers on this as well. But most importantly, we get to give a lot of feedback to Google. And for instance, we're all very familiar with these one-star attacks right now that are happening with the what do you call it? The extortion for $75. Well, the product experts, we saw this first actually, and then we were able to make Google aware of this as soon as we saw the pattern. And, just 2 days ago, Kara came out and put up a post that, we are aware of this and they're working on fixing it. And that's just one example of what a product expert is able to do and able to help people with. As a diamond product level expert, I'm also a mentor basically. So I help people get into the program as well. If somebody wants to become part of the program, they can reach out to me and I can help mentor them. And if they're the right stuff, that they get in. No, just kidding. Anyway, but yeah, so that's it. But as far as like the special thing about being a diamond, there's not a huge amount of things that are special. There's a bragging point, I guess you could call it, that there are 2 diamonds in the United States and Canada, and I'm one of those, and the other guy doesn't even work with Google Business Profiles. But he's a great guy. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. And I think having that access to Google is just invaluable. I don't, like you said, there's only a select few or even just a couple of people who are able to have that level. So tomorrow,
40 in the world, 40 in the world, 14 in the United States. Yeah.
God, I didn't know it was that few. All right. So we are in the presence of a legend in terms of Google. So tomorrow, you and Steve Wiideman will be coming together to talk about how businesses can get the most out of their Google business profiles, or formerly known as Google My Business. And we'll be answering some of the most common questions that we've received in our past webinars, and regarding SEO and Google business profiles and all of that stuff. And also, if you're here tuning in right now, be sure to comment a question that you would like answered by Steve and Ben in tomorrow's webinar. So go ahead, submit a question, make sure you register, and we'll try our best to get to it live. And maybe your question will help someone else. And so moving on, recently
Exactly.
they changed the name from Google My Business to Google Business Profile. And this kind of falls in line with some of the most common questions that we get in our webinars, which relates to the updates, the changes that Google seems to constantly be making. Why is it that Google is making so many changes to Google Business Profiles and kind of in general? And where do you think it's all headed? What is Google's end game here, in your opinion?
I'll start at the end. There is no end game. So, I mean, they have a mission, and that mission is to help merchants and help consumers find merchants, right? So whatever they're going to do is usually going to reach and kind of try to reach those two goals, basically. As far as like changes go, like, the name has been changed, I don't know, 4 or 5 times since inception, right? You had Google Places, you had Google Plus Local, you had, you know what I mean? So then you had Google My Business, and now Google Business Profile. But the name change is usually based on data. Believe it or not, oh my God, Google's a data company. Who would have figured, right? But what they realized is through listening, because believe it or not, when you do click send feedback, Google actually reads this stuff. I know, because they're asked. Anyway, but like with Google Business Profile, they found out that most people would refer to their listing as my Google Business Profile, not my Google listing. And so this also is like, for instance, people are wondering like, well, why did the Google My Business app go away? Why are they moving away from the dashboard? This is all basically, again, based on data. They found out, like, for instance, why was the dashboard being moved away for single merchants, not multi-merchants? It's because 90% of merchants in the world, that's the important part, in the world, only have one Google Business Profile. And where do they manage these Google Business Profiles, besides calling it that? They usually will manage it directly on search, or directly in their Maps app is where they want to manage it. So, they'll type in my business, or they'll type in their business name, and then they would go and suggest an edit. And as we all know, suggest an edit never works, really. And so they said, okay, well, great, no problem. Let's go ahead and let you manage it directly from search. And that's where we get this kind of in-search experience, as I like to call it, where you can just go into Google search, type in your business name, select edit, and bam, you can start making posts, doing things with reviews, etc. Although, of course, we want to do reviews with Birdeye, just saying. But yeah, that's the long and short of that.
So with that, how so recently, as you were just mentioning, they're doing away with the Google Business Profile or GMB app.
Right.
Is that going to make it more difficult for businesses to do things? Like you mentioned, it could be done right in search or in Maps. So is this in an attempt to make things easier for businesses?
It's definitely an attempt to make things easier. You think about it, right? You've already got the Google Maps app on your phone, right? Why do you need another app?
Yeah.
There's just it's just another thing. It's another technical thing, and really, actually, it's commanding programming resources at the same time. So why not free up those resources to work on something which people are already using, which is like Google Maps or Google Search? And again, it's just it's just that's what users want, so that's what they're doing. And I can tell you this: I'm personally thankful because all the notifications I would get on Google's Business Profiles app was amazingly overwhelming.
So I think with a lot of these changes kind of coming in and out, it's important to stay on top of them and knowing, if you're a local business and you don't know that the app is going away, when you log in one day, it's gone and you have no idea what to do. When it comes to this and businesses trying to stay on top of Google Business Profiles and making sure that their online presence is strong and consistent, what are some of the common mistakes that you see businesses making? Maybe there was something that you were supposed to do 2 years ago because of how everything laid out, but now because of some changes, maybe that's not a good idea or it might hurt you now. Is there any comment, like whenever you're looking at a business and you're trying to evaluate their Google Business Profile and their online presence, what are some of those mistakes that they're making?
Some of the mistakes that they're making. So You kind of brought up two things there, right? So number one is how do they prepare for changes? The only way you can prepare for changes is to keep an eye on the news.
Mhm.
What I suggest there is very simply just a couple different things that you can do. Hang out on Twitter because most of us people in the local space are on Twitter,
Mhm.
and follow a couple key people. I would, of course, I'm going to recommend you follow me at the social dude. I would follow Mike Blumenthal and Blumenthal. I would follow Joanne Hawkins, Joy Hawkins. She is the queen of search. She's, like I said, she was one of my mentors. So was Mike. But we're all three of us are always constantly pumping out stuff. And then if you want one source or another source, which is really good just for SEO in general, then follow Barry Schwartz from Search Engine Land, and he also sends out a daily newsletter. I don't know how he does it, but he keeps up on everything. And he picks up on all three of our stuff, and there's other people in the industry as well. It's not just us three. So that's what I would recommend. You can also hang out at like local search forum. And then there is the Local Marketing Institute, which you can find us on Facebook, Local Marketing Institute Connect. And these are all sources where you can just keep up on things. So, and that dovetails into your second question.
Mhm.
And we'll probably get into this a little bit more tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.
But, for the most part is A, keep up to date. B, don't overreact. Trust me, overreacting doesn't work. What I mean by that is when there is a change, the sky is not falling. Okay. Just make sure you go read things. And B is the biggest thing I see as far as the problem, I guess you could say, it's just not keeping their Google Business Profile up to date.
Mhm.
Most people think it's a set and forget it. It is not a set it and forget it. They roll out new features, like you were saying, all the time. And if you don't do it, guess what? You just gave your competitor a leg up. Example, very quick, is when they rolled out opening date. Most neglected feature ever, right? People just weren't using it. They didn't edit it. They didn't know about it. Then all of a sudden, Google Search rolls out a feature into the map pack that shows that your business has been in business for less than 5 years if you did not add your opening date. So now all of a sudden, your competitors have an opening date. They've been open for 22, 30 years. You're open for less than 5 years.
Mhm.
Guess what? I'm probably not going to contact you.
Yeah.
So
You're going to
that's
trust
just
that
one.
22-year company for sure.
Yep. And we'll go over other things tomorrow, definitely.
Mhm. Interesting. So going back to what you had talked about a little bit in the beginning of this discussion was the review extortion scams, and there's been some issues with that. Can you dive into it just a little bit more and explain exactly what is going on? How are people? What exactly is a review extortion scam, and how does that happen?
Sure. So there are, in my mind, two types of extortion scams. The first one is usually actually, by the way, it's usually your fault. What I mean by that is it's a merchant's fault where they will reach out to somebody on Facebook and say, I want to ask you how much do you charge for five-star reviews, right? Or on the flip side of that, somebody reaches out to you and says, I want to sell you five-star reviews for $50. You reply, no, thank you. They reply, we have just given you 5 single-star reviews. If you wish to purchase our 5-star review service, we will remove those 1-star reviews.
Wow.
So that's extortion scheme number 1, right? Is to buy my services. Extortion scheme number 2 is going to be pay me money. And what's currently happening right now is you'll get this email or you'll get this text that basically, or a WhatsApp, right?
Mhm.
And it'll basically say, sorry, buddy, we just left you a 1-star review. We're going to do this every single day until you go ahead and get us a gift card for $75. This gift card, we're going to sell it for $50 and it's going to feed our family for a month. Again, oops, sorry. And so that's pretty much almost exactly what it says in a nutshell. So, but yeah, I mean, it's scary, right? Because they're hitting restaurants. I'm sure they will move and target SMBs very shortly, because it's a very difficult thing for Google to crack down on.
Yeah. So is this something that they're aware of?
Yeah, it's something that they're aware of. If you want to give me 2 seconds, I can find a link. Actually, we'll share the link tomorrow. But yeah, Google is aware of it. Like I said, the product experts, we saw it as soon as we saw it, and we saw before it went national. You know, we brought it up to Google immediately. We showed them the pattern, and bam, they immediately started getting into action on it. So yes, they're aware of it. They will fix it, almost guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
May take some time, but they will fix it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's trying to figure out a way to verify that those reviews are real and you're not being, or some sort of way to report it. There's got to be some way that you can keep those fraudsters from, affecting your online reputation. They're basically blackmailing you with your online reputation as a business, which we know is extremely important in today's times. Everything starts with the online search. So it's vital.
There's a couple things that I think that are worse about this, and that is that once you engage a scammer and you give them $75, right? That's probably not going to be the end of it.
No, it's giving a mouse a cookie.
You know what I mean?
They'll keep coming back.
Exactly. It's like, okay, you're willing to pay. The second thing is the financial cost of the organization itself. Just imagine if this stretches into the service industry. And now all of a sudden they start giving all these 1-star reviews. Well, guess what? All those 1-star reviews go into your local service ads. Guess what happens to your local service ads? Your ranking tanks. You can't get any more leads. Well, if you're a merchant and that's where you're getting 90% of your leads, which with local service ads, our clients get tons of leads. They live off of it. So all of a sudden it can really affect your business. So,
wow. Well, we'll be diving more into this tomorrow in our webinar with Steve. And thank you for filling us in right now. But before we wrap up, I do want to remind everyone to register for tomorrow's webinar. This is going to be jam-packed full of awesome and useful information that you can use to make your online presence stronger and help potentially protect you against scams or in some sort of fraud in that sense. The webinar will not be like our normal discussions, but because we have an opportunity to have Ben and Steve here together, we want to make sure to deliver as much value as we can to you, the viewer, which is why we're formatting the discussion to be a little different. And so we've placed a lot more time for Q&A so that we can allow you guys, the viewers, to talk with these experts, because this is rare to have this much brain power and SEO and Google experience in one discussion. So you have the chance to ask two of the top SEO Google experts in the country, one of 40 in the world who are diamond level certified, your questions. But you have to attend live. So be sure to register and submit your questions. Even if this live stream is over and you have a question that you want to have submitted, feel free to comment it below all the way leading up to tomorrow's webinar. We'll be checking it regularly so we can have those questions ready to go during the discussion. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into today's episode of Birdeye Live. And a special thanks to you, Ben, for joining us. Remember to sign up for tomorrow's webinar. This is really, really, really one you don't want to miss. For more on taking your local business digital, check out birdeye.com and watch a free demo. And before I forget, be sure to follow us here on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook to get notified for whenever we do go live. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow on the webinar. All righty.